A big hearty welcome to everyone who's joining us this evening, Monday, June 23rd, for our Monday Night Wellness webinar. And this evening our topic is everything you wanted to know about energy, but we're too tired to ask. And Barb Lugoni and I are your presenters, and we have our guest presenter, Dr. Steve Cheney, who will be joining us.
We could call him a surprise presenter because
Nobody was more surprised than this.
No.
I don't know about that.
Well, this topic came about because, as Joe mentioned, for those of you who hopped on early, is that it's one of the number one reasons that complaint that people have when they go to their physicians. And a year or so ago, I was working with Emily Russell, and I asked her to share her story. And the reason I wanted to share Emily's story is Emily is young mom of two little bitty girls. But Emily was one of these purists. I mean, everybody went to Emily. She was the go-to person about anything that had to do with nutrition, with child rearing, with pregnancy, lactation, anything. She had I think she graduated Phi Beta Kappa in biology, and then she had a master's degree in education, and she was the guru when it came to health, except that when I met her and her husband, and they're young, they were, I don't know, late 20s probably, 30, they were exhausted. They ate only organic. She read labels. She was just careful about every ingredient, but her husband would come home from work and he'd have to take a nap. She would take a nap when her children took a nap. I mean, it was really amazing to me. And so she was taking vitamins. And when she started on the Shaklee products, it was so dramatic. The difference in her health, it was the only thing that had changed. And we're going to tell you about some of the products that she used and what happened around it, and for her husband also. And so I realized, gosh, if people like them, who are, so good about their diets and their health and so on, is what help do the rest of us have for it? Right. So we want to share with you some of the things that we have learned that really make a difference. So Joe, let's go to the first slide. And so let's understand what causes fatigue and energy loss. And one of the first things we put on there is low or fluctuating blood sugar. And this is an increasing issue in the United States because we are so carb crazy in the United States. We're all so addicted to breads and carbs and sugar and sweets, and the food companies have really been make enticing snacks, and when you have these simple refined carbohydrates, they spike your blood sugar up, and then that blood sugar plummets, and when it plummets, so goes your energy. Same thing with nutritional deficiency. There's, where are the vitamins in our food? There's hardly any in meat, hardly any in dairy, certainly none in sugar. Breads, carbs, if anything, they probably deplete nutrients. Where are they primarily? They're in vegetables and fruits and natural things that grow out of the earth. And so to have a chance of getting the nutrients we need, we got to be eating somewhere around 6, 7, 8, 9 vegetables and fruits a day. Lack of exercise. When we don't exercise, we feel lethargic because we're not pumping oxygen to the cells, and we're not pumping the toxins out of the cells. Carrying extra pounds, that's really hard on the body. Just think, if you've ever, I buy 40-pound bags of dog food, and every time I have to lift one of those bags, I think about, oh my goodness, what about people who carry extra weight? And every time they take a step, they have to carry all this extra weight. It must be really exhausting and tiring for them. Go. He let himself back in again. Okay. And then insufficient sleep. We know that the United States is known for having the most sleep-deprived population. Stress will zap our energy, toxic exposure, depression, mental overload, and illness. So that's a nice collection there that people say that's my life.
Yes.
Go ahead, Steve.
As long as you have that slide up,
mm-hmm.
or if you put that slide back up,
mm-hmm.
let me go back to the lack of oxygen, because there's another big reason not so much lack of oxygen, but lack in our ability to utilize oxygen. And that's because the mitochondria, those powerhouses in the cell, those batteries that keep our cells going, they take the foods that we eat and the oxygen that we breathe, and they're the ones that generate the energy. And as we get older, our mitochondria get older. Sometimes they get defective, and we lose energy because our mitochondria aren't up to snuff.
Go ahead.
The other thing that we're learning more and more about is that there are actually mitochondrial diseases. And the more we learn about them, the more we learn that maybe they're not quite as rare as we had anticipated. Sure, the severe mitochondrial diseases, which, drastically affect kids in their early age, those are very rare. But mitochondrial diseases that maybe just result in lack of energy are more common than we think.
Interesting.
And we've got a slide on those mitochondria coming up, Professor. Okay, so when we get there, you're going to cover those. Okay, so foods that zap energy. We mentioned sugar and refined carbs. I wanted to mention a couple of books that are out now and are rather popular. Wheat Belly is one by Dr. William Davis. The other one is Grain Brain by Dr. Perlmutter. Alcohol, these foods particularly zap energy, but conditions that zap energy are carrying extra weight and stress. Okay, click, Joe.
I just a little side note here too. I just saw this now when you were talking about wheat. I went gluten-free about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now, and it just dawned on me that I do have a better sense of feeling energized once I got rid of the wheat in my
maybe I should add gluten to that slide.
Yeah.
Okay, good idea.
Crossed my mind right now.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay,
Joe.
so what do people do to get more energy? They do all the things that they shouldn't do, the drinking, or eating sugar kinds of things, Coke, coffee, anything with caffeine in it, the energy drinks, Red Bull, Monster, Rockstar, Full Throttle, Four Loco. And, it's amazing to me when you go into a gas station or something, and along the counter they will have all of these little shots of bottles of things for energy, and it's scary, what is in those. And as it says, scientists see dangers in energy drinks. Jane Brody in the New York Times back 3 years ago said for an athlete engaged in intense exercise, the high doses of sugar in energy drinks can impair absorption of fluids and result in dehydration. And then dehydration results in listlessness and again, less energy. And a 16-ounce can of an energy drink may contain 13 teaspoons of sugar and the amount of caffeine found in 4 or more colas. So those things may give us the sense of having more energy, but they're really not, energizing us in a positive way.
And let me just go back to that slide.
Yes.
So, when we talk about that the high doses of sugar in energy drinks can impair absorption of fluids, that's something where Shaklee really pioneered. Their performance was the very first rehydration drink really designed for high endurance exercise. It was meant to fly. It was meant to fuel the Daedalus flight, that 26-mile or whatever it was flight across
over the Aegean Sea.
And so they couldn't use Gatorade or any of those things because it didn't provide enough energy. But they couldn't just put more sugar in there because then you'd get the dehydration. So their unique mixture of simple and complex carbohydrates, they were the ones that really pioneered that. And they're still the only ones that do it naturally without any artificial sweeteners.
Interesting.
I am writing that down right now. Okay, very good. So, energy. Are you taking this one? Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. Well, energy the natural way begins by eating the foods that nature provides. So fresh vegetables and fruits, nuts and berries, beans and legumes, pure water, some poultry and meat, and then some supplements. And these are the ones we're going to be talking about tonight. B-complex, Vitalizer, which is this, I think it's the single most popular product that Shaklee makes, that is a daily strip of 6 tablets. Shaklee 180 and energizing soy protein shakes. We'll talk about those. Core Energy, which is a ginseng-based, cordyceps-based herbal product. Energy Tea, Energy Chews, Vivix, and then what the professor was just talking about, performance hydration drink. So let's take a look at each one of those. Starting with B-complex, my favorite. And are you doing this one, Joe, or am I?
No, you are.
Okay.
It's your favorite.
It's my favorite. I should be doing it. Well, we all often, B-complex vitamins are called the happy vitamins, but they're also the energy vitamins. They're essential for the brain and the nervous system. They help burn fat into energy, which most of us find quite appealing, but they are lost whenever we eat sugar, refined carbs, that's the salty, snacky, chippy stuff, the breads and pastries, starchy foods. They're depleted with caffeine. They're depleted by alcohol, by stress, and medications. Is there anything left, right? And they're in dark green leafy things, and so I found this article in Psychology Today about fatigue, irritability, poor concentration, anxiety, depression. All can be signs of B vitamin deficiency because they're so essential for the brain. All right, I want to click, Joe.
That's
and then I found this other, the article went on to talk about the link of certain of the B vitamins to depression, dementia, Alzheimer's. B vitamins are really important. They contribute to the myelin sheath, that surrounds nerve cells and that speeds up signals that pass to the brain. So you can begin to see why there is such a connection. When children have challenges in school with learning, ADD, ADHD, B vitamins are one of the very first nutrients that I recommend for them for just these reasons. Okay? Okay, click. And that brings us to energy, because energy is depleted by these things that we just talked about: sugar, refined carbs, pop, stress, lack of sleep. 2-year-olds, teenagers, life. But one of the reasons that they deplete energy is because they all deplete B vitamins. And they are essential for the energy production of your cells. Professor, anything you want to say about that?
No, I think you got it pretty well covered.
Okey-doke.
The only thing I would add, Barbara, is that I don't think we don't have to be afraid of taking a large amounts of B-complex. Even if people are taking like 1 a day and that's not helping with any of this, then take 2 a day. There are some days when I feel that my energy level is really down. I might take 2 or 3 Bs a couple times a day.
Mm-hmm. And Pam Carey always says, take 1 for every child you have.
Absolutely.
And she has 4. Okay.
So Shaklee 180 smoothies and bars, or the energizing soy protein. I told Barbara I would just talk about this slide just because traditional U.S. breakfast foods, high in carbohydrates, as we've already said, but we have to start the day with protein and fiber to stabilize blood sugar. Before Shaklee, I was a person that started my day with a caffeinated cup of coffee. And that didn't work very well because I was teaching middle school English, but when I would get home in the afternoon, I would have to lie down on the couch and take a little cat nap to get me through the rest of the day till about 9 o'clock. And then I'd be back on the couch again waiting for the 10 o'clock news so I could finally go to bed. Now, why I thought I had to wait for the 10 o'clock news to go to bed, I don't know, but I did. And one of the very first things that I noticed after we started and got going with taking the protein for breakfast every day was I didn't have to take any naps, and I was thrilled at how long a day really was and how much I could get done by having those extra hours in my day. And I had more energy, I felt better, but it also showed up in my disposition in dealing with kids that Barb was talking about earlier.
Mm.
Yeah, so
and the same thing is true for parenting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good.
And
okay.
And then Vital-E and Vitalizer, I was having a protein shake every morning with Vital-E because we didn't have Vitalizer at that time. Today I take Vitalizer. And these products, these are just the foundational products, as we say there, for a longer, healthier life. The Vitalizer is wonderful. It's 80 nutrients in 2 Vital-E tabs, 1 sustained release BC, 1 Optiflora, 2 tablets that are a combination of Keratomax E and Omega. And in those few tablets, we're getting all these 80 nutrients, backed by 12 clinical trials. But I think one of the most special things about Vitalizer are those patents for the delivery system. So Shaklee scientists have made sure that every one of those tablets gets to the right place in the digestive system for maximum absorption. So, you see, it's the bioavailability of the supplements you take that will make a difference in how you feel.
That's right.
The body if they don't get in to feed the cells, it doesn't do any good.
And
hey,
Steve, the next slides are about Vivix, and I have the muscle research study with the mitochondria. You want to take those 2 slides?
Sure, I'd be happy.
Because it fits into what you said earlier.
Okay, so Vivix, the thing that's really unique about Vivix is that this is one that, the resveratrol, the polyphenols in Vivix, this is not a nutrient in the standard sense that it's feeding the cells. It is a potent antioxidant, but it's not just the antioxidant potential. These are actually activating what you're calling here longevity genes, the genes that slow the aging process. And they slow that aging process because they repair damaged cells, they repair DNA, but they also regenerate mitochondria. So what you end up with is younger, more efficient mitochondria. And that's that's one of the main reasons why people notice the effectiveness in aging, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of athletes use Vivix.
Sure. Okay, and then the next slide shows that study with the mitochondria.
Yeah, so let's look at that. So that's a control. The red, what's outlined in red there are muscle cells. This is a tissue culture slide. The green spots are the mitochondria. So those are the power packs, the batteries of those cells. That's where they get their energy. That's a control. And then resveratrol. Vivix is an excellent source of resveratrol. You get 100 milligrams of resveratrol. So you can see resveratrol alone increases the number of mitochondria. And actually, this is the way that this stain is done. That's the number of mitochondria, but also the activity of the mitochondria. But when you add that polyphenol blend in Vivix, I mean, look at all that green there. If you were lying on the couch because your mitochondria, your muscle cells looked like that picture on the left, Joe, and we'd had Vivix back then, just imagine what would have happened.
I
could have had 24-hour days.
Well, actually, that's no small thing what you mentioned is I pack a lot into my days. I'm very productive, but boy, I remember back, BS before Shaklee is I would just crash at night, and it took a long time to get things done. It was it's so much better now. I mean, now I work 15, 18-hour days, and have lots of energy at 10 o'clock at night still.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's there's such a thing, but I think to me there's also a healthy tired. You can be worn out and tired, and so you sleep better. If you're a healthy tired rather than a totally bummed out.
Good point. So that brings us to our next product we want to mention, and that is Core Energy. This is a really interesting product. It is a combination of ginseng, you probably have heard of that, and cordyceps, which you probably haven't heard of, which is a very special plant from the mushroom family, studied extensively in China. for its ability to enhance energy and stamina. And what I noticed, and you may have heard of ginseng before, they call that an adaptogen herb, which means that if you take a major gland or organ of the body, adaptogens, if it's under-functioning or over-functioning, it kind of brings it back into normal function. So very true, especially of adrenal glands, which when I, back to talking about Emily and Steve, Core Energy was Steve's favorite product. So he probably was suffering from adrenal exhaustion at the time that I met him, which could be why he was just crashing. And they had little children. There's a ton of stuff to do when you're working full time. There's so much to do in the house, and he would spend the weekends on the couch, and it would just take forever to get any project done, anything put together. And they and when he started on Core Energy and the Vitalizer, everything else, but the Core Energy seemed to make a really big difference for him. Okay, you want to click, Joe?
So actually, before you click,
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this gets back to the mitochondria theme. Why the cordyceps it helps improve the efficient use of oxygen is it also acts in mitochondria, whereas the Vivix, the polyphenols in Vivix, increase mitochondrial production, so you've got younger, more active mitochondria. What the cordyceps does is improve the efficiency of mitochondria, so they use oxygen more efficiently. So those two really work well together.
Yeah. So the Vivix is increasing the number of mitochondria.
Right, younger mitochondria, because mitochondria have a fixed lifespan in the cell. So when you produce a lot more mitochondria, then you've got not only more mitochondria, but a higher percentage of those are younger. And the younger mitochondria are the ones that produce the most energy.
Younger produce more energy. I'm madly taking notes here, Professor.
But the cordyceps works hand in hand in that, because for all of the mitochondria, it helps to improve their efficiency, the efficiency with which they use oxygen.
Oh, fascinating.
And isn't that the one that they gave to the racehorses, too?
Core Energy or cordyceps?
Now, see, there's a little factoid that you missed there, Professor.
I must have.
You were into the mitochondria, and I was into the racehorses, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, thank you. Okay, next slide.
Good stuff.
Okay, Joe.
The Shaklee Energy Tea, this has become one of my all-time favorite products. Like it says there, it's simply liquid oomph, and it's little tea sticks with an exclusive blend of the green and red and white teas, and you can mix it with hot water or iced water. I drink it all year long, mixing it with cold water. I just don't care for hot teas, but I love it. And it is, I think the important thing to realize, it's a refreshing energy boost, and it replaces coffee and the amped up sodas, but it is safe. It is natural, it's healthy, and it's effective. And so it really is a valuable product for us to have.
And delicious.
Yeah. And comes in the two flavors. You can get it in the green matcha or the pomegranate flavor, and people usually have a preference of one or the other. If I have a big enough water jug, I sometimes mix the two, and I really like it that way. Now, in addition, there are tons of benefits from this energy tea, and we're not going to sit here and go through. I'm not going to read through each one of these, but just look at the bold words, and it'll give you a strong feeling of what this energy tea will do for you. Detoxifying, antioxidant, causes fat to be more soluble. That is a really good one. Critical for brain development.
And that's why, by the way, it's part of the Shaklee 180 weight loss program.
Yeah.
It's because it helps with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, great. Critical for brain development. I mean, who doesn't want their brain to be healthier and functioning better? Helps regulate blood pressure and reduces cholesterol levels. Now, that's the taurine in the energy tea. And then we have the green tea component, and that helps to cause body fat reduction, increases metabolism. which is a good thing. So you just, you're metabolizing foods and all of that better. Alkalizes the body, which is important to have an alkaline. And Dr. Cheney, I've heard you talk about that a number of times, that cancer cells do not like an alkaline environment to live in, correct?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, so it's good, it helps in that way. And that's why it reduces the risk of several cancers, protects the cardiovascular system, protects the brains and the kidneys, helps lower blood sugar in diabetics. I mean, when you start to read what all of these teas do, it's like, well, why wouldn't I take this? Mm-hmm. More green tea benefits. Now, this is an unusual one. Promotes oral health and hygiene, helps with to reduce the development of dental plaque and cavities. And a cup of green tea contains about 15 to 30 milligrams of caffeine, but because the green tea also contains theanine, which is an amino acid that calms, it counteracts the effects of caffeine.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
And it does work that way. Mike and I have not been drinking caffeinated coffee for probably close to, it has 20 years. And I don't drink sodas, and I don't eat, a lot of chocolate or anything that has caffeine. And this caffeine does not affect me in one iota. Mm-hmm. It's great. Mm-hmm. So aids in the detoxification of heavy metals. And the active ingredients include those polyphenols that Dr. Cheney was talking about that help with heart disease and cancer prevention. Mm-hmm. So, and it's so convenient. You can put those sticks in your briefcase, in your purse, in your pocket, Mm-hmm. And then great.
Go ahead.
The Energy Chews, another one of my favorite products also, because this helps. It's like an energized drink that you can chew, and it gives you more or less of a little bit of a healthy edge on things. People feel. When I take it, you feel more energized. It's easier you stay awake better. You're more alert. You can get focused. You think clearly. It does all of those things using safe ingredients and none of the junk that you find in other, energy type boosting products. And it's great. It's great to take an Energy Chew before you go to work out, or if you're going to be taking a long road trip where you need to stay up a little later or study a little longer. Convenient, also great product, I think.
Great. Okay.
And starting the day with your healthy, delicious shakes. And again, as we said earlier, protein and fiber will stabilize your blood sugar. And believe me, that makes a huge difference in how you function during the day. I know that just from personal experience. These shakes, they're so convenient, they're so easy. And our grandsons are 4 and almost 4.5 and almost 7, and they have a protein shake every day. And the little 4-year-old, sometimes he comes over to the house and he'll say, "Grandma, Mama didn't give me my protein shake today." Well, I know she did, but he wants another one. So even young people, little people, can learn to love these shakes, and they're easy to make. They taste delicious, but the benefits are just huge.
Mm-hmm. Professor, anything you want to mention about protein before we leave that one?
No, I think you've really got it covered. I mean, there's lots of things that protein does, but if we're talking about energy, it really is that stabilization of the blood sugar that is most important.
Okay, and so that leads us to talking about extra weight depletes energy. Anything you want to say here, Steve?
Well, I think you said it all. You think about when you talked about carrying that 40-pound bag of dog food. If you're carrying all that extra weight around, that is going to tire you out. And unfortunately, carrying that extra weight around doesn't count as exercise. So it's not like you're getting the benefits of exercise. It's just tiring you out.
Oh, it's not like weight-bearing exercise.
So it is, what happens when we become overweight is our whole body chemistry changes. And one of the things that changes is our cells start to become resistant to the effects of insulin. And that's what makes it much harder to control blood sugar levels. And that's, that contributes to that tired feeling.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I'm taking notes. Okay, so, and the Shaklee 180 program is really fantastic, but you can purchase any of the products individually, but the smoothies are just fabulous. 24 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber. That's equivalent of eating 2 apples, but low glycemic. And so when you have a shake, you're not hungry for a month. It's like it really is very satisfying. Or you can have the bars, because sometimes shakes are not convenient to make. It's not easy to do that. So they have even meal bars, and they have little snack bars, but they're all high in protein and fiber, but they stabilize blood sugar, and protein repairs and rebuilds muscle and cells, and that's all a part of the whole energy deal. So for those who want to lose weight, the key to the shakes and the bars is this wonderful little amino acid, leucine, that your body uses to repair and rebuild muscle, and that's significant because a pound of muscle burns lots more calories than a pound of fat. A pound of fat burns like two measly calories in a day. Pound of muscles burning, 50 grams of 50 calories a day, a pound of muscle. So it makes a big difference. So it's also a great way to maintain your weight, lose weight if you need to, but also get the benefits of the protein. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And dehydration, I don't know if we always think about dehydration as causing fatigue and listlessness. And sometimes, our fatigue could just be because we're dehydrated, especially in the summertime. Perspiring from hot summer days or strenuous aerobic activity will deplete the electrolytes and trace minerals in our body. And performance replaces all those essential nutrients, and it, like it says, provides fast-acting carbs to sustain energy for endurance and to restore energy after an event. But we need to just remember the value of a performance drink is to avoid dehydration, which causes weakness, fatigue, and endangers vital organs. And a lot of people will make a special drink. They mix performance with the energy tea and have a combination.
Oh, that's
there.
good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tastes great. Mm-hmm. So the Shaklee Performance minimizes fluid loss. It maintains those blood glucose levels to sustain intense energy output, and it increases our stamina and endurance for better athletic performance, or just better functioning, I think.
And in the summer when it's so hot, we just make a picture up every day of performance, and we're showing you the small container of it here, but it comes in a large economy size, and gosh, that is refreshing. Sometimes, we've had very hot, sticky weather across the country, and especially in the Midwest here, and it's just you just really feel the difference.
And you pour that performance over a glass of ice. Oh, gee, that is
very
good.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
Steve, do you want to say a few things about why the performance works as well as it does?
Well, I think, again, it was designed to work that way. There was a lot of science that went into performance. I'm going to kind of actually first go back to one of the things you were saying about the energy. Mm-hmm. So, one of the things I think that if you're tired, you're dragging, and you drink that cup of coffee and it perks you up for a few minutes, and then seems like it just, that energy disappears. What your body may be telling you is that you didn't need more stimulants, you needed more hydration.
Yes.
And actually the coffee was dehydrating you, so it was actually making things worse.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just have to listen to your body and try that performance, hydrate yourself instead of that cup of coffee.
That's a good suggestion.
But, I already mentioned the Daedalus flight that the scientists from MIT who designed. So basically what they did is they designed this human-powered airplane to accomplish this flight across the Aegean Sea. couldn't find any hydration product out there that would actually provide the kind of endurance for that kind of event. Again, it's like 26 miles. It was the plane never got more than about 6 feet off the ocean.
Yeah.
So, they didn't have any downhill stretches. They had to go flat out the entire time. Suzanne is correct. She said 70 miles. It was 2.5 marathons. That's right. Back to back. It's good to have a fact checker in the background.
Fact checker.
Fact checker in the background. But yeah, so you've 2.5 marathons back to back, no downhill stretches. There wasn't anything in the marketplace that could do that, so they came to Shaklee and said, "Could you design something?" And that's where they used the latest science to develop that mixture of the simple sugars, the complex carbohydrates, so you could deliver that carbohydrate without causing dehydration.
Without dehydration.
Good. Great, yeah.
Like it.
It gives a very clear picture.
Okay, so there is our summary slide of the what we can do to get more energy. The taking the vitamins is always the easy part. B complex, Vitalizer, the daily strip of 6 tablets, Shaklee 180 smoothies or energizing soy protein shakes, Vivix, the remarkable resveratrol liquid that Steve talked about that regenerates these wonderful mitochondria that are the energy packs of our cells, core energy. And then we always work on the diet. That's usually the harder part because, old habits die hard. But 6 to 9 fruits and vegetables a day. Reduce the wheat and the refined carbs and the sugar. And as Joe mentioned, gluten, one of the things that Perlmutter and Dr. Davis talks about in Wheat Belly and Grain Brain is that wheat today has, they said, something like 40 times the level of gluten that original wheat grains did. And then we have all these wonderful extra products that you can take when you need energy, when you're going to be drinking something. Just drink something that's healthy and that is going to replenish energy and be healthy for your cells. The energy tea, the performance hydration drink, and those little energy chews. They're like little candies, but I always have them in the car. Because one of the major causes of car accidents is people falling asleep behind the wheel, people who get groggy, if they've eaten a big meal and then they hop in the car, driving at night, driving on highways and expressways, and so always have them in the car. And sometimes I'll just take a half of one, but it not only gives you energy, it also gives you focus, and it's a very, very healthy thing to have around those energy chews. So there's our collection, and then we just wanted to close by telling you that you can click again that this is how you'll feel when you're on that collection. And then just to remind you that for those of you who may be new and not know a lot about Shaklee is really very committed to pure science. The best of nature and the best of science come together here. They have been creating healthier lives for, we're going on almost 60 years now. Really committed to cutting-edge science. They have over 100 published studies and abstracts in peer-reviewed science journals. And sometimes we forget to mention just the caliber of science and the respect that the scientific labs at Shaklee have. And then the guarantee on the next slide, Joe, is about they put in the best to create the best products, natural ingredients that you can trust. And I mention that because there's so much hype in the marketplace today. In fact, I read an article just last week that the Food and Drug Administration is considering banning the word natural on labels because it's been so misused. It means nothing anymore. Anybody can say natural. It has no legal meaning. But for Shaklee. It's been a part of Shaklee's DNA for the last 57 years, whatever it's been. In fact, this coming up in August, we have a very special conference, global conference, and we're going to be celebrating the 100th anniversary of when Dr. Shaklee, and there actually was a Dr. Shaklee, as opposed to there wasn't a Betty Crocker, that Dr. Shaklee invented the multivitamin. He called it Vitalized Minerals, and in 1915, a really very special event. So it's nice to know a little bit about the company, because this is a company for sure that you can trust. And with that, it is a wrap. Joe,
very good.
Any questions?
Yeah, there's a lot of them here.
Okay. What is the difference? B12. Oh, cyanocobalamin. Steve, we have in Shaklee, or methylcobalamin, other sources of the B12. That is that methylated issue that comes up every now and then. You want to speak to that?
Well, actually, that's a little bit different than the methylated issue that comes up, but that's an interesting question. People are saying, well, the cyanocobalamin is an artificial version of the B12. It is a highly purified version of B12. It is very, very stable. But when the body takes it in, it converts it to the methylcobalamin. That it doesn't have any problem doing that. That's been known for years, and I'm really puzzled where some of these weird ideas come from. Mm-hmm. That is an effective form of B12. It is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Does Core Energy help the thyroid?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, thyroid issues are not, to my knowledge, usually due to problems with mitochondria. I guess you could think of it as an adaptogen, helping various tissues, but again, I don't know of any research on that. Barb, if you think about ginseng, have you heard anything about ginseng and thyroid?
No, but isn't it the only thing I would tell you about thyroid stuff is that when you start talking about glands and hormones, they're all interconnected. And so, estrogen, progesterone, the adrenal glands, the thyroid glands, they're all very much interconnected. And so the one thing I can tell you that we can do with supplements is use the nutrients that we know create hormonal balance, because our diet really messes that up. And so especially during transition times, especially in women, hormonal transition times, it's very important. Now, ginseng is interesting because it's an adaptogen. I've not seen any research about it, but theoretically, if it were an adaptogen, it may help a gland work better, and we certainly know it improves the adrenal gland, which could be related. So it's all theory, I'm telling you, but it does seem to me like it might be worth trying it, because you can't hurt yourself with it. It might be interesting to see if it helps. Okay.
Here's somebody who says that the Shaklee products, she says, performance along with my Energy Chew B complex and some chewable C form my energy tools as a New York City tour guide. So before Shaklee, my brain would drag halfway through the day. Gatorade would clog my throat, and I got sick of drinking water. Yeah.
So we got a super great New York City tour guide. Wanda, we're all going to be coming to see you.
When is the best time to take Vitalizer?
I would say with meals.
Yeah.
With meals and early in the day, just because there's stuff in there that really helps you with energy through the day. Cool. Oh, excellent. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Professor, for joining us.
Yes, it was great to have you.
I loved your mitochondrial. I'm going to check on your schedule before I do this again and make sure that if you're around. Thanks, everybody, for joining us next week. Next week.
Inside the World of Shaklee.
Inside the World of Shaklee. Okay, very good. So that's going to be an overview, really an interesting overview about the history and the philosophy of the company. We'll be doing a review of each of the 4 product lines. We always highlight one product line based on, we always have a guest speaker who shares their health story. So we'll let you know about that when we get that confirmed. Thanks, everyone. Then we'll see you next week.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.